So you join me now as I'm trying to chip and pitch the golf ball, but this time from actually some quite bad grass. We're in a nice tangly bit of rough here where the golf ball can either sit down on the lie like it has done on this first shot, which is sitting right in behind the golf ball. It's very down on this lie, or on this lie it's sitting up a little bit. There's a lot of grass underneath the golf ball there. Now these two shots need playing in very different positions, very different ways. So when you find your golf ball in the rough, the first thing you should do is get nice and close to the golf ball. Make sure you don't touch the golf ball, but have a little poke around and see what that lie is looking like. You obviously can't bend and break too much grass, but you could certainly have a good look and see how the ball is sitting. Once you've established the sort of lie that you're in, you can then establish the sort of shot that you need to go ahead and play. So we can now look at how to play these shots. First shot we're going to take on is the ball that's actually buried down in the grass. Now I've chosen my lob wedge for this shot because it's got quite a big bank to clear and then not a great deal of landing area on the side of the green. So we have to flip the ball up nice and high, get the ball to land and get it to stop relatively quickly when it comes down. Now when I'm playing a ball out of a bad lie like this, the most important thing is that I can actually get a good contact on the back of the ball. The ball is sitting down in the grass, but I don't want to get the club to come into the grass too early because it will attach too much grass to the club face and actually not allow me to get a good contact on the ball, not imparting any spin or any real distance control on the shot. So if we take the ball that's sitting down first, I'm going to move this golf ball back in my stance. We move it back behind the centre of the stance. We keep the body weight well ahead. And we actually try and make a slightly more of a chopping action using quite a lot of wrist hinge on the way back, so getting the thumbs pointing up to the sky very early on, hitting down nice and aggressively into the back of the golf ball. I'm also actually going to add some more loft onto the club face. Now I can do that with a process of opening the club. So I take my setup and then I twist the golf club, turning the grip almost until the club face is sitting horizontal to the ground. So it's sitting here, so it sits very, very open. You imagine that you could get a glass of wine balanced on that club face and then hold it down to the floor and then grip it. This is going to keep the loft on the club even though I'm hitting down. Even though that golf ball's sitting in the rough and the rough's going to try and grab the club and twist it, I'm going to keep the club face open, hopefully keep the loft on the face and drive right underneath the ball and flip it up onto the green, trying to get some element of spin and stop even from this quite tangly grass. So here we go then, we'll open the club face nice and wide. Set the feet open as we would do normally for a chip shot, place the golf ball a little bit more towards the back and then practice a stroke that's going to have quite a lot of wrist hinge and the real fierce hitting down motion into the back of the golf ball. Here we go then, towards the blue flag. See if we can follow this one. Now I think from that lie, the way the ball was sitting down with the bank in front of me, I think that's quite a nice result. It's pitched in there to around about 10 feet and it gives me a good chance of making a putt to make a good save on this hole. Now, having a look at a slightly different shot. This shot can look a lot easier. It sits up on the grass this time, it's not sitting down in the grass. And having it sitting up on the grass in the rough appears to be an easier shot. However, you are going to have to be careful with the way you play it. The first shot I'm going to hit here is actually the wrong way to play this shot. We see a lot of people taking a nice lofted club like the lob wedge and again adding some loft by opening the face. They think they're playing out the rough, you've got to open the club face, you've got to chop underneath the golf ball. But because this ball's sitting quite high up on the rough, if I open the club face so it sits like the glass of wine could balance on it again, the face profile appears to be very, very narrow. And if it's very narrow, there is a chance I could go clean under the golf ball or almost whiff it completely and play an air shot. If you find yourself in a good lie in the rough, just be careful of that fact that you're not going to go underneath the golf ball. So we can actually stand with a relatively square setup here. Using the lob wedge is fine, but keeping the profile of the head so it sits quite wide. So we have this profile of the head here and not this one, so it's way open. Ball around about the centre of the feet this time. We don't need it back like we were doing before to chop the golf ball. We can take it nicely from the centre and maybe not quite so much wrist hinge on the shot this time. We don't need to be so aggressive as we hit down into it. Let the club do the job of getting under the ball and flying it up onto the green. So here we go, from the rough, but from a good lie in the rough. Nice and square setup, ball in the centre of the feet, not quite so much hand action on this one. Just lands on the little downslope there, which has kicked it on a little bit too far, so maybe a misjudgment on my behalf of where I should have landed the golf ball. Trying to land the golf ball there actually on the flat part of the green to discount the fact that there's an awkward bounce off that slope. So maybe a slight underhit from me, which actually gets the downslope and then finishes too far away from the green. So whenever you're playing a shot that has to go over a slope, try and get the golf ball to land on the flat part of the green. It will give you a much more consistent run and release position rather than landing it on the downslope and shooting on like that one.